Hi there and welcome to the Neckpour. My name's Lewis and this is the Whisky Review channel where I give you my honest thoughts on a bottle of whisky from the Neckpour all the way down to the dregs. Before we get started today, I'd like to ask you to go down below, drop me a comment, let me know on your views on these particular whiskies or any whiskies that you'd like to see me review. Drop me a like if you're enjoying it, and if you want to see more, hit subscribe and hit that bell icon so you're notified whenever I post again. Aiming to put something out once a week as scheduling allows. And today we've got two whiskies, although I'm only going to be drinking one of them today, that I bought in travel retail. As some of you know, over Christmas we went to Sri Lanka on a honeymoon and bought this bottle at Heathrow on the way out. So we're not doing the Neckpour of this today because I'm down to about here on it. Although that's the one issue with these newer Bruichladdich bottles is you can never tell where you are without shining a torch down the top. But yeah, this is pretty good, and I just wanted to show you that I had it, and that the dregs will be coming for this when we get down to the end, finishing it, adding any to the infinity bottle, etc., and giving my full thoughts on it. But today we're here for the Neckpour of this one, the Laddie Eight. This is a travel retail exclusive bottle from Bruichladdich. And before we get started, I've got to admit I am a massive Bruichladdich fanboy. I really like a lot of the stuff they do. And particularly one of the things I most enjoy is their transparency. Being able to, look up the recipes of your bottles online, seeing the vatting, seeing what's gone into everything, and the fact that, so much of their information is available out there, I think is brilliant. And I hope it's something that's followed up by a lot of other brands and copied, because I think for people who really care about whiskey, it's stuff that they do want to know. So I picked this bottle up in Colombo on the way back, spending the last of our currency up at the airport. And this I thought was an unbelievable price. This was $60 US was what I paid for it, which at today's rate is about £46.50 English, something like that. But if we'd say anything under £50, I think for an age-stated Bruichladdich Classic Laddie, I think that's just unbelievable value, considering in the UK you can barely get the non-age-stated version for that price. And the sherry cask edition, which I bought in the UK on the way out, was considerably more expensive than this was. I'm not even sure if they still make this, because I've never seen a bottle of this anywhere that's not been ridiculously priced that someone's brought back. And it is quite old because it's still in the clear bottles, which, although I do love the Bruichladdich Blue, there is something about a clear bottle that is just easier to see what's going on. You can see the colour of your spirit, and this is very light, very light indeed. If I hold it that way, it's probably the best way to see it. But yeah, so Laddie 8, 50%, unchill filtered, natural colour, all those kind of things. And as you can see, there's the Colombo Departures Duty Free label on it. But yeah, let's get into this and have a little look at what we've got here. And have a little listen to the cork. We've got a little flake of cork coming off. So let's rip that off so it doesn't drop down in. We'll deal with that later. And for now, let's leave that there. So yeah, that is a real kind of straw colour to that. Now let's have a little smell. So I think this is one of the first sort of age-stated stuff they released since being reopened directly through themselves. And I think this has now been discontinued, but I'm not 100% certain. Maybe when I come back to film the dregs of this, I'll have done a little bit more research into it and see, look those things up a little bit better. But on the nose, that is absolutely wonderful. There's massive amounts of cereal on there, a little bit of hay, a little bit of fresh cut grass, and a nice kind of fruity note to that. That's really, really enjoyable on the nose. It's not as complex as I thought it might have been, or as kind of funky. I suppose maybe the slightly longer in the cask has kind of toned down a little bit of that kind of Bruichladdich farmyard kind of thing. But no, that's lovely. That's really nice. That's really inviting as well. You know, it's actually making my mouth water from the smell. So let's have a little sip and see what we think. So it's quite punchy. You can taste that 50% is definitely there. You know, as first whiskey of the day, anything stronger than 43, I can always tell. So let's have another little sip and see if we get a little bit more. Yeah, there's a real honey sweetness to that. There's a lot of, again, those kind of grassy, hay sort of flavours. But not in a kind of vegetal farmyard silage rotting kind of way. In a like a really fresh, either walking through a field that's just been mown, or walking through a farmer's field that's full of barley or wheat. You know, that's much lighter, and yeah, lots and lots of sweetness to that, and then a really kind of crisp sort of fruit of some kind, whether it be an apple, something like that to go along with it. And yeah, that's a really lovely whiskey. But I am likely to enjoy it. I'm a big, as I said at the start, I'm a fanboy for Bruichladdich. I like pretty much everything they put out. A couple of Port Charlottes I've tasted, I've loved. And Octomore, who knows? Who knows if anyone likes Octomore? It's such a weird outlier. To me, it's cool and it's fun to taste, but I don't know whether I'd ever own a bottle myself. It's just, you know, a lot of ridiculous whiskey, but it's not to say that it's not cool. And I like the fact that we own a distillery. We're going to make the most peaty whiskey. You guys think you make peaty whiskey? I will make more peaty whiskey than you can make, and I think that's kind of fun. Although I do have to say, since being taken over by Remy Cointreau, I do think Bruichladdich have lost a little bit of their edge in a sense. I think they were much kind of, when they first reopened, they were a much more cool brand and were willing to do things for the sake of doing things. And now it seems like they're still doing the things that work for them and make them unique, but they're not as experimental as they used to be, which I think is a shame because it is one of the things that set them apart from a lot of other distilleries, particularly those on Islay. And now, you know, with Ardenhoe and Kilchoman being up and running and serious kind of contenders, I think Bruichladdich may soon lose their place as the cool new brand on Islay to these new distilleries that are up and coming and are still independent or pseudo independently owned. And then to the finish on that, there's quite a lot of um, oaky tannins to that. It's quite drying. You can feel it here, but again, it just leaves you with massive notes of cereal and barley and to me, I always think bran flakes is one of the things I always think of with malted barley. Um, if you don't know, if you're not from the UK, I'm not sure you'd know what bran flakes are, but they are literally flakes of bran. It's like a super healthy cereal, super healthy breakfast cereal that is. Um, but yeah, that's kind of what this sort of reminds me of, and also what a lot of these kind of barley forward whiskies remind me of. But yeah, that is the classic laddie, just taken up a little notch. It's a little bit more complex. It's a little bit more interesting. So yeah, this is, it is the classic laddie, just taken to a slightly more refined, slightly more nuanced level. It's maybe lost a bit of the rugged kind of aspect, which to some people will be what they really like Bruichladdich for. But it's just a slightly elevated, slightly more enhanced version of that. Now, I'd love to actually try this alongside. And although I don't have a bottle of the classic laddie at the moment, a couple of my friends do, might reach out to them, ask if we can do a little sample swap so I can try this alongside one of theirs. But yeah, I'm super excited for this. I'm really enjoying it. It's a really good first dram, and I think this will get quite a bit better as it sort of opens up. And again, it's not a bottle that I'm going to cane it through, because I think it's discontinued. This will probably be the first and last bottle of this I'll ever get my hands on, because I had a quick look online before filming this, and yeah, there were bottles going for sort of £130 in this country, which to me that's crackers. You could get 3 bottles of whiskey for that sort of price. There's no need to pay that for something just because it's travel retail exclusive. It's just crazy. But yeah, as we're 2/3 of the way through my first pour of this now, and as I've kind of got used to drinking 50% whiskey for the day, and my palate's got a little bit more used to it. I'm starting to pick up a little bit more. It has got a lovely, there's a kind of undertone of something super sweet on the nose to go with that barley and that apple. Again, as soon as it touches your mouth, there's a massive amount of honey. Then you get that kind of hay and grass kind of note. Then you get the barley coming through, which is kind of right at the end of the palate and is just starting to get to the finish. And then it ends on this really kind of drying, tannic, oaky note that sucks everything out. But it's tannic in a kind of very different way to anything I've had before. I mean, I am going to pop them an email, see if I can find out what was actually in this batch, what it was made of, and what casks it was aged in, because that oakiness presents in a very different way to anything I've really had before that's been super heavily oaked. Because, if you're drinking a bourbon or anything like that that's in virgin oak, it kind of presents to me as like leather and walnuts and old books and those kind of things. And it's not at all like that. It's just that same mouthfeel with all the tannins, but without that super oaky finish. So yeah, I'd be interested to know if they're using a different type of oak, whether it be like a chinkapin oak or a Mizunoro Japanese oak, something like that, which may well be the case. And I'll see if they come back to me with any more details. But yeah, that's a really great bottle. If you do find yourself in duty free somewhere and there is a bottle of this, I'd strongly recommend you do pick it up. Really enjoying this first dram. I think it's only going to get better. And it's a really good whiskey for the price at £46. That's just ridiculous value for this. But yeah, they definitely didn't have any left at Heathrow. But there were plenty of bottles in Colombo on the 11th or 12th of January. Who knows now whether there's any left there? But no, that's certainly a bottle I've really enjoyed. It's one I'm going to treasure and I'm going to enjoy. And I'll be back when we get down to the end to film the dregs on it. Now, if you've enjoyed the content, please do drop me a like below. If you want to see some more, hit subscribe and click that bell icon to make sure you get notified whenever I post. And if you've tried this or have any thoughts, drop me a comment, or if there's a bottle you'd like me to purchase and review, please drop that in the comments below. Other than that, I'd love to see you next time for another episode of the Neckpour, an episode of the Dregs to finish a bottle, or just my general thoughts on whiskey. But for now, and until the next time, Salancha, cheers, and I'll see you again.